Every single one of us exotical girlies has the privilege of being multicultural. And it's so funny because I never really would have considered this or reflected on this aspect of my identity if it had not been for the exotical space. I would not have realized that it was so different from the way that some other people experience the world because it's so normal for me. But yeah, I just want to talk about my personal experiences with the privileges of being multicultural. When it comes to multicultural, you have the biological multiculturalism, which is like our mixture, and I'm Latina. I'm black and Latina, so that's my biological multiculturalism, but anyone can be multicultural if you are familiar with other cultures, or like you're just part of other cultural groups that could just be from like your social circle, like your friends. Benefit number one of being multicultural is that we do not put certain races above others. I feel like sometimes, and a lot of times, with black women that are monocultural or black men that are monocultural, a lot of times we all know it is so normal to put whiteness on a pedestal. And it's so weird. Like, I've never really sat back and thought about how weird it is to me personally when black people kind of talk about white people like they're this totally different entity of human being. The just category other that some black people will put white people in, and again, just like the fascination with them. And I think when I personally consider the way that some monocultural black people put whiteness on a pedestal, it is usually in a romantic way, like black men that just love white women, or black women that just love white men. And it's like they'll take so much trash from these people because they don't want to treat white people like people, because in their head whiteness is just like this amazing, magical, fascinating aspect of something that it's almost like it's beyond human, like it can do no wrong. And it's so flippin' weird. But this is where you get a lot of men and women being pick-me's for anybody that's white, and it's just totally confusing. That person could be mean, ugly, poor, it does not matter. Like, we see some people put whiteness on such a pedestal. And so one benefit of being multicultural is you don't do that. You understand that people are people. and we can go and we can understand the nuances of different cultures, but we don't get, like, we're not making people into some other kind of, like, they're not treating them like they're not human, or thinking of them in a way that is not down to earth. Like, it's almost like some people that put whiteness on a pedestal, it's like they almost consider whiteness to be like this otherworldly, amazing thing. And then that's another reason why some monocultural black people are uncomfortable in like white spaces or wealthy spaces and environments. It's because they have put it on such a high pedestal. That they are just uncomfortable. They don't know how to act. Apart from not like understanding the culture, on top of that, they have all this extra, nervousness because they don't know how to act, because they damn near made it like these human beings are not even human. And yes, that is something that I never realized was a benefit to being multicultural, because I never in my entire life thought like, oh, white people, these oh yes, I just want me like this magical white handsome white prince that's gonna come and save me, and like like what, like men are men are men, men are men are man like they all got the same parts. Okay. So yeah, I would say that is one benefit. Another benefit, just kind of following this one, is you don't have the trauma. Okay, let me tell you guys, I had no idea that this was a trauma for some people, but the trauma of feeling like you're not attractive to any race of men. Never in my entire life have I felt like I cannot get a certain type of man because of my skin color, my hair texture, or my facial features. Like that just I'm gonna be honest, like I literally had no idea that like all types of people weren't attracted to all types of people until I was like older, and then other people were like really wanting that or trying for that. But let me tell you, like I've had all kind of boys into me, all different backgrounds since I was a child. And I on this channel I've talked to you guys a lot about being, growing up in the hood and growing up poor. And let me tell you, my entire childhood was a poor childhood, but my entire childhood, up to being an adult, was not spent in the hood. It was actually spent in wealthy spaces, sometimes just by the luck of the way that life went. So for example, when I was like 13, 14, I actually did live in a mansion with my mother and my siblings. So we lived in a mansion for about maybe like a year or 2 years, a year and a half. A mansion in the hills in a very wealthy town. So yeah, that was so nice. And the reason that we were able to live in this mansion in the hills was because this woman that owned the home, like her daughters had moved out. Like she had some family that were staying with her and they moved out. And this woman was a friend of my mother's friend, and my mother's friend knew that she was struggling and looking for a place to stay. So this woman actually offered for my mother to have, it was like 3 rooms, to rent out these 3 rooms in her mansion, because we had no place to go. And so that was just lucky for us that we got to stay in this place for a little while. But yeah, I mean, even at that young age, 13, 14, I didn't think of it as like, oh, this is so amazing. Like, we get to stay in a mansion in the hills. Like, no, literally my entire childhood was just spent in survival mode. So I was very, very happy that we had a place to stay. Okay? I was just happy we had a place to stay because, yeah, my entire teenage years was just, do we have a home or maybe we don't? And is it a good home or maybe it's not? And sometimes we would be lucky enough that people would be really kind enough to where like we would have that space, because my mother's pretty anyway. So just because of that, people would really want to help her out a lot. Yeah, and when I lived there, I became friends with this white boy, and then his friend was this like biracial girl. So she was black and white, and then they had a friend, though I didn't consider this boy my friend. They had another boyfriend, and I didn't consider this boy my friend because I would be really annoyed with him because he had like a super huge crush on me. But it was this Asian kid. But yeah, that wasn't like a big deal or anything. You never really think about like, oh, all of these different ethnicities and stuff like that. It's just normal. Like, so it's weird to me when people are really pointing that out, like, oh my God, yeah, it's just odd. It's just so odd because I don't think about it. I didn't think about it, especially as a child. Like, you just don't think about it. It's just people are people, and thank God. Like, I would hate to grow up and feel like I didn't have access to certain spaces or people or experiences just because I can't understand that everyone is just a human being. Like, yeah, and I may tell that little story about that Asian kid, but he would just follow me like all around the neighborhood all the time, like, oh my goodness, all the time. And so, yeah, even at that age, I was not happy with all of that attention. But I'll tell that story some other time because it is really funny. So yeah, even as an adult, like, the guys that were interested in me were just the guys I was around. If I was around white guys, then it would be white guys. If it was Latino guys I was around, it would be Latino. Middle Eastern, Asian, whatever. Like, I just didn't realize that people were literally trying, like, picking and choosing, like, oh yeah, this, this is the flavor of the month. Let me try to get this type of person's attention. That's so weird. That is so weird. I don't know. And then you're trying to learn someone else's culture and all of this, and like, that's never been my experience. So that's funny to me that people are trying so hard to get certain types, certain racial backgrounds, like, attention. It's like, okay, that's different, but thank God. Like, I would hate to feel that way. So that's definitely a huge benefit. And I would say that's a benefit with, like, making friends too, because yeah, it's a benefit with making friends too, because I've had white friends, Latino friends, Asian friends, just like I've had black friends, and I never felt like, oh, I can only hang out with this group of my friends at this time, or I can't bring this group of my friends here, or like, that would be so weird. Everyone can mix and get along, and it's not uncomfortable. And so the fact that, like, some people actually feel like they can't make friends with, like, certain people, or it's hard to make friends with people of different backgrounds, it's just so weird to me. Because you just talk to whoever's interested in you and whoever you're interested in, and then friendships are built just however they're built, with just mutual interest and compatible personalities and that kind of a thing. It's not like, oh, what, like, you don't have to do a screening for what culture someone is to be friends with them. So that's also odd to me, because I never thought, like, oh, I've made some Latino friends today. That would be so odd. Or like, oh, today I made some Asian friends. But I've definitely had some family members, like, ask, or like, kind of be curious, I guess, about, like, me having Asian friends, for instance. Like, oh, like I was just, I don't know, like, it's interesting or different or weird. Like, definitely had family members kind of make comments expressing that it is, which is, again, it's just odd, because people are people, and when I went around making friends, I wasn't thinking like, oh, I want to be friends with this type of person. I was just talking to who was talking to me, and we were invested in our conversation and enjoying each other's company because we had things in common, and that was it. So I think that if you're not able to connect with people just on a humane level, and you just see race so race is just so all-encompassing to you, that sounds really lonely and kind of stressful and weird. So definitely a benefit if you don't have that kind of outlook. Another thing I don't have is any hang-ups about being the only black person somewhere. Like, oh my goodness, I actually realized this the other day. how much that does not make me uncomfortable, and how I didn't really think of it prior, but normal when some people want to be around certain types of guys and they're like talking about, oh, you gotta go here and you gotta do this and you gotta go to the golf club. Like, oh my goodness, I told you about that. A woman that is my friend's friend that likes white boys a whole lot, and she is like that. She's like, oh yeah, I went and I started going to play golf, because she wants to be around like these rich white boys or whatever. And I just thought that was so weird. So like, you picked up an entirely different hobby that you didn't even care about just because you wanted to be around some type of race of men. Like, wow, okay. I'm not telling anybody what to do or not do for love, but like, dang, that just sounds like a lot of investment. It just sounds like a lot to think about. I naturally tend to be in those wealthier areas and things just because of my interests. Literally just because of my interests. Like, I love going hiking. Okay, all the nice hiking trails, all the best hiking trails, all the hiking trails that I know of, not even the best, all the ones that I know of, are you have to go into the nice area of town. That's where they are. They're all behind the big mansions. Like, I love hiking trails, and I'm always exploring new ones, so I'm always over there. Not to mention the fact that I enjoy being in really clean, safe, aesthetically pleasing environments and cities when I'm doing whatever I'm doing. Like, that makes me feel safe. So yeah, I like being in those environments. Like, for example, my favorite beach is it's in a wealthy neighborhood. It's close to me, but I have to, drive over to that neighborhood, and that's where my favorite beach is. It's like pretty much the only beach that I go to, because you actually have to pay to get into it. And I don't mind, because you never have to worry about homeless people being there, or just, people that don't have a life that are looking to get into something. So I feel really safe. So yeah, and it's just super, 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 super stunning. Like, when I say breathtaking, I mean this beach is breathtaking. So that's one thing, and I'm really picky about my food. So then I'm always in like Sprouts, or I love a freaking Whole Foods. Like, so that's another thing. And then speaking of food, when I go out to eat, like with my friends and stuff, I'm just like really picky. So I want to go to the nicer places, the pricier places, simply because the food quality is better. I don't want to have to worry about MSG and stuff like that being put into my food, because the food is cheap and low quality and they need something to make up for the taste. That's just how I feel about kind of like regular restaurants. So yeah, I want to go to the high-end places, like, and I do. But that's just because of my interest. And then I love museums and botanical gardens, and I went to this Japanese New Year festival that was actually at this place, and it had like, this place is stunning. It's like a center, and it's full of beautiful historical buildings, and every single historical building on the property is turned into a different museum exhibit. It's all this different type of art. It's so gorgeous. Like, the buildings were gorgeous and the art was gorgeous, and then all of these buildings are over like hundreds of acres of land, and it's just a bunch of gardens. They have a sculpture garden, a Japanese garden, a rose garden, like all these wonderful stunning gardens. And for the Japanese New Year event, you had to go to the Japanese, you had to go like up to the top of the hill of the Japanese garden. When I tell you guys, like, the views were stunning. They were so pretty. And yeah, they had like in that there was musical performances and crafts and stuff, and it was just so fun. But again, when you're going to like museum environments and stuff like that, it is absolutely a different type of crowd. And this center was where? Smack in the middle of this super wealthy neighborhood. And I love to write, so I've been this year finally choosing to do some writing workshops, and I did the funnest one last week. Last week was an erotica writing workshop. It was so fun. What I was surprised by was that the crowd of people that were there were like serious writers. So people were like really good. I'm like a good writer. I definitely felt like I belonged as far as like skill level wise, but I'm not like that. Like, I'm not a professional. And some of these people were like absolute professionals, and then you did have some people that just did it like me, like for hobbies and fun. Yeah, it was definitely more of like a nerdy crowd, which I really liked. I really liked that. Yeah, and the workshop, it was mostly white people, and then Asians, and then a little bit of like Latino, and then it was only like 2 other black women there. Like, it was only 2 other black people there, and they were both women, and they were both mixed. There was no one else, and it didn't feel like awkward or anything. Even being the obvious minority, you don't feel weird or like you don't belong. Like, it's just so comfortable. So that's just another benefit. I feel like you just have the freedom to be yourself and express your passions and just go where your heart leads you and do what it is that you want and what you enjoy. And you're not trying, again, you don't feel weird about connecting with different type of people or feel like you can't connect or you're having a hard time connecting, or it is so effortless, again, that it's so easy, it's so nothing to think about, that I didn't realize like a lot of other people will think about that or do think about that or do think that it's kind of weird that I don't. But yeah, ultimately, like, that's just how I feel. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks so much for coming and talking with me all about the good, the bad, and the pretty.